I thought that was interesting. Obviously, what he meant to do. What he meant was it was in a good place. He wanted to make a stand. Obviously, anytime you don't stand during the national anthem. People are going to criticize it. And that's the unfortunate part of it. You can't ever stand against the flag and things like that. A lot of people sacrifice and things like that for it, but there is also a deeper meaning to what he did. He's talking about the oppression of African Americans in this country, and that has been going on for a long time. And I think, a lot of the focus has shifted away from his message and shifted, to some people rightfully so, to him taking a stand against the nation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's also things in this nation that people need to remember and take heed of, and also acknowledge. This country is the same country that had whites and colored signs on the bathroom. We're still in that country, we're still in that nation, and that needs to be acknowledged, and that needs to be changed. There's people with that mentality that still exists, and that needs to change. There are people that still treat people of color, with subjectivity. They treat them a certain way. They categorize and they put them in a certain category. There's certain statistics that are put out there to make sure that police, profile certain people in certain neighborhoods, and that needs to change. So there is some depth and some truth in what he was doing. I think he could have picked a better platform and a better way to do it, but every day they say athletes are so robotic and do everything by the book, and then when somebody takes a stand like that, he gets his head chopped off.
Well, and it seems like historically too, whether it's Muhammad Ali, whether it's Tommy Smith and John Carlos, like the more controversial the stance, the more it gets people talking. A lot of people have done it in a more conventional way, but when you do more controversially, it seems to sometimes be the answer to spark the discussion.
Correct. I mean, like you said, Muhammad Ali not going to fight the war. I'm sure was viewed very similarly at that time. And as time went on, as people understood his message and what he was standing for, the feeling towards it changed. And obviously he's an American, and he thinks America is as great a nation as anybody else. Or else he wouldn't be living here. I'm guessing. But he also understands the trials and tribulations that he goes through as an African American male in this country. People say, oh, he has all this money, so he doesn't deal with those problems. Well, all the money in the world can't buy you freedom. Can't change your skin color, can't get your family out of that. And not only do you have to deal with it, but your family has to deal with it, your kids have to deal with it. And it's unfortunate. And I think people need to take a step back and acknowledge that there were wrongs in this country. There were people getting hosed down in the street and dogs sicked on them, for standing for what they believed in, and that's unfortunate. And at the same time, you got to honor your country. You got to believe. I think football is a tremendous asset, but it could also be kind of a model for what it means to be a team. As me and Coach Bev were talking earlier today, and he's like, ever since I was a kid, when I first started playing or coaching, when you play football, you're not concerned about whether you're throwing to a black guy or a white guy or orange guy or Asian guy. You're concerned about getting the ball there, executing your job, winning. You're concerned about playing for the next guy. Playing for your brother, and I think that's something that the nation can take from sports, is that the Olympics were also a great example. How different countries, everybody comes together, and nobody's sitting there saying, I'm not going to run against this guy because he's black, white, orange, blue. They're running to compete for their nation, to win. They don't care what color the people on their team are. They're supporting them. They're supporting their country, and that's how it should be all the time, regardless of circumstance. And I think, it'll be a long time before we get there, but hopefully we're trending that way.
Have you or anyone in the locker room discussed never standing for a national anthem?
I think some of the guys have talked about it. I haven't particularly been in those discussions, but I'm sure some of them. But I'm sure if it's going to happen, we do a national anthem every game, so we'll see.
If you had a teammate, a younger guy, come up to you and ask you, say he's thinking about doing that, how would you advise him?
I just tell him, think about the pros and the cons. Every action has an equal or greater reaction, and there's going to be criticism. There's going to be backlash. There's going to be people, behind screens that'll judge you, they'll criticize you, they'll say whatever they want about you, and you got to be willing to deal with that.
Good.